So I have here my warm water that I have mixed in with some sugar. I'm throwing in my yeast and I'm going to let this stir it and then let it get foamy for about 5 to 8 minutes. And then I have here my dry ingredients that I'm going to, after my yeast is activated, I'm going to whisk it into my flour mixture. And don't forget to add in 1 large beaten egg as well before you start mixing it. So we're going to give it a great little mix here. Once it's fully incorporated and starts to come together, you are going to pour this mixture into a food processor. Next, you place your dough into your food processor and let it pulse for about a minute 15, a minute 20 seconds. If this recipe looks familiar, it's pretty much my homemade bread recipe with a few little tweaks to it to make it taste like a cinnamon roll. I wasn't planning on coming up with this recipe, it just happened and it is wonderful. So let it pulse for about a minute 20 seconds. You're going to stop the machine and then we are going to put it on a lightly floured surface here, about a good handful or so. So your dough will be slightly sticky, slightly wet. Please try not to add any more flour. A lot of new bakers, they tend to do that, and that yields a more tougher dough. So the more you start to work it with quick hands, the more it'll start to come together. Don't worry about getting to a nice, smooth, perfect ball. Just make enough to where it's incorporated to where you can put it into a lightly oiled bowl. See how it starts to come together more here after a few good, quick movements of the hand. That's all you need here, just to let it come together. Next, you want to place your dough into a lightly oiled bowl, about a tablespoon, maybe less. I accidentally put a little bit too much here. Toss to coat. That'll prevent a crusting to form on your dough. And then you want to cover with a saran wrap and wait for it to double for about an hour. Next, you want to take about a handful of flour, so put it on your work surface and take out your dough that has been rising for about an hour. It's definitely doubled in size. Pour it onto your work surface and then take your hands and kind of work it into a little log here. It's going to basically make it easier for you to roll out your rectangular shape, the shape that you need to roll out your cinnamon rolls. If you can feel the dough, you see how at first initially it was really hard to work with before I put it for the first rise. A lot of new bakers tend to put way too much flour, so it yields in a more dense, more tougher loaf. So with this bread, you see how it's nice and smooth and it's easy to work with. I didn't add any more flour. At first it was sticky, now it is not. This is what you want to do and what you're looking for. So now I'm just shaping this into a nice large rectangular shape, and you want to make sure that the shorter side of the rectangle is facing you. This is so it's easier to roll up. Next, you want to take some melted butter and take your pastry brush and just kind of, this is about 2 tablespoons or so of melted butter, and just completely cover your dough here. And this is so that your brown sugar mixture will have something to adhere to. So here I have my brown sugar mixture, which is packed brown sugar with some regular white sugar and some cinnamon. Just take your hand, you can dump it all on there, and then you want to take your hand again and just slightly smooth it out, leaving a slight border, about a 1/4 inch or so. This is so that it's easier to roll and none of the filling is, coming out or oozing out while you're rolling it up. So it's just going to make it easier for you. So just take your hand, smooth it out, leaving a border, and then we are going to start to roll it up. So next you take your hand and just basically fold over one time, and then you're going to fold it again. The first 2 or 3 folds will be really loose just because it's a little bit harder to get a tight roll at first. And then you slowly want to start to get tighter and tighter. You'll notice when you're rolling it gets easier, and you can get a nice good firm hold on the dough. So once you get almost halfway, you want to really get your hands in there and try to make it as tight as possible. Just like that. And you want to make sure that it's also, try to roll it evenly, just so that you'll get one nice long even roll, so that all your pieces when you cut into them will be even, so that they'll rise evenly, so they'll all be the same size. Next, you want to pinch to seal the dough just like that, so it's nice and tight. And then don't forget to do the ends as well. And then you want to roll it over onto itself just like that to cover up the seam. Next, you want to take your baking dish and just take some softened butter and lightly coat it, the bottom and sides of the pans if you wish. Now I'm going to cut my dough right down the middle at first, and I'm using, this is actually a cake lifter. I don't like using knives because I don't want to damage my counter. And then you want to cut those in half and then cut each section into threes. Now this recipe makes up to literally about 12 rolls. Now if you prefer though, if you want to cut them slightly larger, they can make about 6 to 8. And if you like them really big, then that's fine too. It takes less time to rise, so that's kind of awesome too. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to do actually about 9 or 10 here because I don't actually use the ends. So here I'm just make sure, a lot of people I've noticed when they do cinnamon rolls, they don't really give enough space, and you need the dough, you want your cinnamon rolls to rise, so you need some space so that it gives it room to get a little bit bigger. So if they're not getting big, it's because you're not giving them any space. So here I fit about 9 into my baking dish. Next you want to take a saran wrap that has been lightly sprayed with some cooking spray and wait until your rolls double in size, or actually triple in size is better. So here my dough has tripled in size. This is a different batch that I fit about 6, and I'm going to show you guys the other batch that I showed you in the video. Here is the 9, nice and big and fluffy. This is what they should look like. Now the other ones that I show you that I fit 6, they are slightly larger because in a different batch that I did, I cut them into larger pieces, which yields in bigger cinnamon rolls, obviously. So if you want bigger cinnamon rolls, then you want to cut less. Instead of the 12 that I showed you earlier, you cut about, 6 or 7 pieces. So here I have my cream cheese frosting. I'm going to show you guys how to do that, which is softened butter, softened cream cheese, some vanilla, and powdered sugar. My icing usually isn't that sweet, so if you want to add more powdered sugar, you can do about a quarter cup more, but just try it out the way it is. It's really good, really tasty. You'll love it. So here's what they look like coming out of the oven. Aren't they just gorgeous? They are so big, light, and fluffy. They are so good. So now I'm going to brush them with some melted butter. I wouldn't skip out on this part. It adds to the overall softness of the cinnamon rolls and also to the tops of the rolls. So after you've brushed that on, we're going to just slather on that cream cheese frosting. There's no signs to this. Just slather it on like you would anything. And you want to do all this while your cinnamon rolls are still hot. So as soon as you take them out the oven, you want to do this right away and have your frosting and everything ready. So here's the other batch that I'm going to show you. Oh my gosh, you guys have to try this recipe. It is so super soft, super delicious, and light and fluffy. When it touches your lips, it is just so good. Straight out the oven, nothing beats a homemade cinnamon roll, I tell ya. And then I'm going to take one out to show you guys what it looks like, give you guys a real good close-up, because I like making people drool. It's kind of fun. There it is. Oh my gosh, I can't even look at this video. I'm like drooling. It's so good. I can literally taste the cinnamon roll again in my mouth. When I make this, it is literally gone within hours. It's so good, so light, so fluffy, super soft, straight out the oven. Literally nothing beats this recipe. I hope you guys try it out. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Bye.